Hey there everyone, Paler here, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a video on Warhammer End Times Vermintide. Now, I'm just going to call it Vermintide going forward, and this video is going to be a bit off the normal template. Normally with a game like this I would do a let's look at video, and it would be more of a full in-depth impressions. But I don't like this game. I don't find it very enjoyable. At time of recording, I've put 5.5, 6 hours into it, and that includes going back for about an hour, 45 minutes or so, to capture footage because I screwed up the footage the first time I captured it. So, realistically, I played 4.5 to 5 hours before I decided I was done with the game. And it's not fair to judge and put out too firm of impressions on the game from that amount of time. So I just want to make very clear that this is the first 5 hours. But I think I can clearly explain why I don't like this game. And I think someone can realistically come in, watch this video, and determine if my problems with the game are going to be problems they have. And should be able to establish if they will like the game or not from that information. Now, in order to explain this better, I'm going to have to talk about two other franchises, the Diablo franchise and the Killing Floor franchise. And the Killing Floor one should be relatively simplistic and straightforward. If you look at this, you can understand why I draw that conclusion. If you don't know, Vermintide is it's a Left 4 Dead clone. And I don't think the developers mind that being called that, because it very clearly is exactly that. They took the Left 4 Dead formula and they put it into the fantasy Warhammer universe, replaced the zombies with rats, vermins, whatever, what is it, Skevin? Something like that. I know they're in the Blood Bowl game. But they pulled out the zombies, put the rats in, put it in the Warhammer universe, replaced the generic characters in Left 4 Dead with some more, I don't know, Warhammer-y classes, and that's what it is. So the comparison with Killing Floor should be pretty opt, but comparing it to Diablo is going to be a little more strange. But it's less comparing it to Diablo and more the difference between Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. This is going to be blasphemy, but I'm not a big fan of Diablo 2. I did not think Diablo 2 was a great game. I do think that it had a very important part in the development of video game history. I think it's an extremely important PC game. It wasn't for me, though. And the reason it wasn't for me is I would always burn out on it around Act 3. Not because I'd be playing it too much, but for those of you that are with this channel, you already know I'm very much a mechanics-focused gamer. I like a good story, and I think a setting and a story and all that can carry a few select games or improve a whole lot of other games. But there's very few games where that'll carry. For me, I need that core gameplay loop, what you're doing 80-90% of the time, to be very well done, very satisfying for me to stay invested. And that's, I think, where Vermintide fails, and that's where Diablo 2 failed for me. For me, in Diablo 2, I would go in and I would enjoy the first 2 or 3 hours, but very quickly that gameplay would get old. And by late Act 2, I was basically burned out. I'd get to Act 3 and be like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore, don't want it. And that's what's happening with me in Vermintide, although I'm not getting nearly that far in. With Diablo 2's simplistic gameplay, basically you had left and right click, and you had 2 abilities, and that was it. There just wasn't much there for me. It was to the point where when I played Diablo 3, I actually think Diablo 3, even vanilla Diablo 3, was a better game than Diablo 2. And don't get me wrong here, don't misquote me, Diablo 3 had some major problems with its loot system, the auction house, and all that. I just think the core gameplay of Diablo 3 was far better. And for people that can just overlook that, like that just mindless clicking, and can focus on the loot system of Diablo 2, that probably sounds pretty crazy, but I can't help it, that's the way I was. Having the 6 abilities, and having those abilities just be so visceral and impactful in Diablo 3, where, you know, the monk, with every punch, the combination of the visual cues and the audio cues made it just really, really good to play. or Diablo 2 failed. And that's what we have here. So, in my opinion, Vermintide is to Killing Floor as Diablo 2 is to Diablo 3. So I come into this game, and when I try to play Vermintide, I see a game that is highly melee focused, very little ranged combat outside of the Bright Wizard, but the melee combat just doesn't have any satisfaction behind it. Your weapon just slices right through, there's no real impact there. You can knock a few guys back with shield bashes and stuff, which is more satisfying, but still lackluster. You can chop an arm off, and it's nice to see the arm go flying, but then the rats just kind of fall over and ragdoll. They might look at you for a second. You can pop their heads off, but there's no satisfying sound when that happens. There's no, like, clunking sound of, like, their head going all over the place and everything. And it just makes the melee combat uneventful. And then there's also no depth to the melee combat. So the game has basically 3 attacks when you're in melee. It has left click, hold left click for a charged attack, or you can do right click to block and then left click off of that for like a bash type attack. And that's it. There's nothing else that I've found in 5 hours. Maybe there's more that unlock as you go down the tree, but I haven't seen it at all. Ranged combat is pretty darn simplistic too. There's a few, like the Bright Wizard, who has a little bit more to her ranged combat. She can charge up like a bigger AoE ranged attack. And there's some interesting mechanics with the Bright Wizard. We'll talk about her a little bit later on. But when I compare that to, say, Killing Floor, where every shotgun blast and headshot, slicing an enemy apart with the sword, is so satisfying in Killing Floor, it's night and day difference to me of the quality of these games. And let me be very clear here. Vermintide's not a bad game. It's not awful. But there's so much other better stuff to play. Why am I going to play one that's just mediocre? And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's not bad. It's just average. Mediocre. And I have better things to be doing. I have much better games to play than this one. Vermintide's not without its bonuses, though. It does have a few things that I think some people could really queue on. I think it comes down to basically 3 things. First is the setting and the world design. The setting, if you're a Fantasy Warhammer fan, you don't get a whole lot. I know Fantasy Warhammer's been pretty much neglected. It's not a franchise I look at, but it's been pretty well neglected for a long time. So first, that might be a big bonus. If you're really into it, that might override and carry you through this game. The level design is also really well done. It's got a lot of hidden nooks and crannies, little side routes, a lot of branching paths. Even though it's a relatively linear level, you can loop around quite a few different ways. Level design is great. Graphically, it looks pretty good, but there's some problems there. I'll talk about that here in a moment too. Also, graphically, it looks pretty good. The 2 really big positives that I personally liked about it, but weren't good enough for me, is 1, the different classes do all have very unique feels to them. Playing a Bright Wizard is completely different than playing the Witch Hunter, who's completely different than playing I forget his name, he's like a conquistador-looking guy, Empire Soldier maybe, is what his name is. They all do have their own unique play styles within them. Where Left 4 Dead, yeah, there's different class, or different characters, they're just characters, they're just skins. There's notable differences here. Even much greater differences than in Killing Floor 2, where you do have select unique weapons for each individual class. The one that I think most people might queue on that'll work really well, positive-wise, is the loot system. There is a persistent loot system. With each successful completed mission, you get a chance at loot. So there's like a dice roll system. And depending on what you roll, you're going to get different quality items, gray, green, blue, and then I think orange. The higher the rating, the better the stats on it, the more bonus abilities and everything you're going to get. But you only get 1 at the end of each completed mission. A mission can go anywhere from 10 to like 30 minutes. There's not a whole lot of loot there. And at least in the ones I've seen the first 5 hours, while they add some slight modifiers, like there's Berserker, which will make it that when you attack, you have like a 5% chance to increase attack speed by 5% for 5 seconds or whatever. It doesn't change the combat up enough. Also, if you look at Left 4 Dead or Killing Floor, right in the middle of the game, you know, you can, at any round, you can change your class up. If you've been using a shotgun, you can decide to pick up an assault rifle, or you can decide to get a sword. You can do a whole bunch of different things. Once you're locked into your class in Vermintide, you're in it until it's over. You're in until you go back to the end and you can actually change classes. It just gets really dull and dry. It's not a lot of fun. Not a lot of fun. And yeah, like I said, I think there are some positives to this game, but I think the core gameplay loop is just very boring. And if you're someone that can overlook those, if you're someone that can play, if you can play one of those endless clicker games, I forget what they're called, like Clicker Heroes, you might find this game really good. If you're really into the Warhammer fantasy world, you might be able to overlook the flaws with this game. If you're someone that can really dive into that loot grind, you might be able to overlook the flaws in this game. But for me, the setting doesn't do it. The character classes are interesting, but not quite enough to keep it varied and up enough. The loot system's interesting, but there's not nearly enough of it, and it's locked in for 20 minutes or so once you get it. There's nothing to overcome that dull and dreary combat system that I don't like. One other thing, this goes back to the graphics I was going to talk about. If you're someone that gets simulation sickness, gets motion sickness like me, just be a little warned. I was able to finally get the game running well enough where it didn't give me sickness. At first, it was really bad. The game does have a pretty good FOV slider, and I don't want to rail on it for that. It does have a good FOV slider, but there's other things that go into what give motion sickness, and I get it pretty bad. And for me, it was a combination of two things. One, there is a noticeable amount of motion bob, or view bob, as you walk around. There's no way to turn that off. There's no smoothing the view bob. That's affecting me. The other thing that was really affecting me was the frame rate issues. So this is a pretty good looking game. And I can understand that when there's 150 rats being slaughtered all over the map, the frame rates are going to drop. But they were fluctuating greatly on me. I was going from like 90 FPS to like 25 FPS, and then back up to 90, then down to 40. It was just all over the place. So I had to really crank those settings down quite a bit, brought them down to low medium-ish settings, and that finally gave me a good, my frame rate would stabilize above 60, and it would go 60 to like 120 then, at which point the motion sickness became much less noticeable. It didn't really kick in nearly as much, and the game became playable. But the first 2 hours of the game, I played it for about 90 minutes, and then I had to go lay on the couch because it gave me sickness that bad. And I think that about covers it, you know? Like I said, it's not a bad game. It's not an awful game. It's just very average. And in today's gaming world, I don't have time for average. There's so many great games out there that I'm not going to play a $30 average one. I'm going to find ones that are really good. And Killing Floor 2 is a great example of a very similar genre that's just really, really good. So, yeah. If you've played this, I'd love to hear your opinions on it. Am I just being way too harsh on it? Or maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it gets much better after the 10-hour mark when you're wearing higher ranked gear. Maybe there's something I just haven't seen. If you like this video, I'd like to ask for a thumbs up. But until next time, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.